So this video is a relatively advanced video as they go, in that it outlines an intricacy with the interactive contract functionality of EthTools.com that I actually discovered myself as a result of using it incorrectly. So as you can see here, I have submitted a contract to the chain which essentially acts as a proxy for the ETH registrar. You call this unsealed bid method, passing in various values, and it sends them onwards to the ETH registrar contract. If I quickly change tabs to the interactive contract page, you can see how one can interact with this contract directly using the EthTools interface. Now, if you have used EthTools.com before, you may be aware that I previously created a tool called the Secret Checker. This tool was created because a number of people were having issues with revealing their bids. 9 times out of 10, the issue was that they were inputting incorrect data values when revealing their bid. For example, the incorrect secret. The idea of this was that you could enter the domain you bid on, your secret, the address that you bid from, and your bid in Ether, click on submit, and it would generate the details of the bid, such that you could check that the payload data generated here matched that was submitted with your reveal transaction. One interesting thing that I noticed when I was using this proxy contract that I had developed was that when I called this function, the internal transaction step of the transaction call, which sent the unsealed bid method execution to the ETH registrar contract, was actually sending incorrect input data. That is to say, it wasn't sending this data that I expected, and I wasn't completely sure why. After a little bit of debugging, it became patently obvious, and what it was as follows. This secret checker was created to make checking the input data as simple as possible. We ask you to input your domain in a text format, your secret in text format, your address as a 40-character hex address, and your bid in Ether. That is relatively simple, but behind the scenes what we do is we convert your bid to its value in way, which is what the ETH registrar function expects. It expects a uint256 value in way, and we convert the secret and the domain to their respective SHA-3 versions, which is what the contract function is expecting. If I were to go here and do what I had initially done, and well, whilst I was inputting the correct hash for the domain name here, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was entering the correct hash. Obviously, it was the right length when I actually executed it. I was entering the value in Ether, which obviously is incorrect. The other thing that I was doing is that I was stupidly entering the salt in plain text. I was entering contract test once again. But the reason this didn't work is this interactive contract functionality does not and cannot know what format exactly each function is expecting its inputs to be in. There isn't a catch-all way of discerning exactly what the function expects to receive. So whereas when creating the secret checker, I knew exactly what it expected and could convert it appropriately, this function, this interface does not explicitly convert your inputs to the values that the contract function expects. As such, you need to enter the values yourself. Now, having gone back to the secret checker, we can see here that the SHA-3 of the domain and the SHA-3 of the secret, as I've used the same values, is outputted here. This is the value that I need to input into this unseal bid call. Obviously the error has now gone away. For the salt, I also need to put that same value. And then for the value input, rather than putting 1.1, I need to put the value in way. I can discern this using the EthTools unit converter and can see that 1.1 ether is this much way. I can then go back and input that value and call the function. Now I'm not going to do that now because I've actually already previously done that, and I can show you the internal transaction step trace for that call. As you can see here, there is 3 steps. If I scroll down, this is the step where I call the registrar address. This is of course the registrar address on the Ropsten test network. And you can see that the input value is here. If you check carefully, you'll see that that input value is the same as this input value here. So the correct value is being sent to the ETH registrar contract. Now, the eagle-eyed of you will have probably noticed that this transaction actually failed with a bad instruction. That was expected. I was revealing a bid. I was testing this on the auction for contract test.eth, which was not in the reveal stage. So when the call was proxied to the ETH registrar, it threw an exception. So yeah, that is just a brief overview of one of the considerations when using the interactive contract functionality. To sort of too long didn't read, too long didn't watch that explanation. Essentially, there is no value conversion and there is not extensive input validation for using the interactive contract functionality. So you need to make sure that you do that conversion yourself and submit the correct values to the interactive contract functionality.